I have been racing gravel for the last 2 years at races like Focofondo, Grassroots Gravel, Gravel Locos, and most recently, Lost and Found. And like a lot of people, I was stuck on 40 and 45 millimeter tires. I thought they were fast, efficient, and the right tool for the job. But John kept saying, put some real tires on, 2.2s, even 2.3s, and I wrote him off so many times, saying they were slow. But then, I kinda got curious. We did a rough ride up to the towers, and that planted the seed. And when Nick Jensen from Manzanita Cycles released a steel gravel race bike that clears 2.25s, I finally had no excuses. And the perfect race to test it, Lost and Found. A brutal, beautiful course through the Lost Sierra where big tires just make big sense. This is the story of how I finally listened, ran 2.2s at Lost and Found, and why I'm never going back. Lost and Found might be my favorite terrain I have ever raced. It was rough, remote, and totally stunning. 95 miles with 7,500 feet of climbing, mostly wild and wide dirt roads with a healthy dose of chunky double track. Coming into it, I knew I didn't have the right bike. So a few months back, I started talking to Nick from Manzanita. He's been developing the Whippet for over a year. And between the geometry, the concept, and our conversations, I knew I wanted to race it. We made a couple of tweaks to my build, and heads up, version 2 is coming this fall with some fast upgrades. Let's do a little recap of our race. It's the next day. We just did Lost and Found, 95 miles, almost 8,000 feet of climbing. I was riding the Manzanita Whippet with the Manzanita framebuilder, Nick Jensen. Let's just talk about the race, how did it go, and all the things that I felt about this bike and how I felt really at home during this race. But first of all, let's hear from Nick. And what was your inspiration behind this bike? Who do you think would benefit from having a bike like this?
This bike would be considered you could call it a modern gravel bike or a progressive gravel bike. But really, this type of bike has been used in the bikepacking racing scene for decades now. You know, the guys who are riding the Tour Divide and other long distance rides, they know that comfort is key to speed, and having big tires makes you more comfortable and makes you faster. So I just wanted to create something like that, but just a little bit more racy format for day rides instead of for multi-week rides or anything like that. So I made clearance for 57 mil wide tires, which is 2 1/4, and just built around that, more of a racy chassis. And yeah, super happy with it. I've been riding mine for the last year. I created the first prototype last year. This was my first 100-mile gravel race on the bike, and I didn't win, but I finished, and I'm not dead today, so yeah, super happy. How did your race go?
Well, I had my best race ever. Not only my fastest time, but also my best day on a bike. Can't complain that the views and the route were incredible. Lost and Found, one of the most beautiful gravel races I ever done. Or the most beautiful race I ever done. Like, if you guys ever get a chance to ride on this side, you guys should come next year and do it. It's amazing. And personally, like, what I felt with the bike was something that I haven't experienced with a modern gravel bike yet, which is the front end is a little further up. So when I was on the drops, I'm like right at the axle or a little further back. So that gave me so much confidence on the descents. I'm not usually someone that is gonna pass other people on the descents, and on this race I was able to. And the race starts with a paved climb, and I didn't feel slower than anybody else with these tires. So there's a reason why gravel racers are seeing more 2.2 tires out there. These tires are fast and they're very grippy on the loose stuff. So yeah, you can be faster anywhere. The bike particularly, I felt more confident in the sense it was more comfortable. Big tires, more stable. There's a lot of factors that I still need to consider of why I felt so comfortable on this bike. And this was my third ride on the bike, so it was a little bit of a gamble to just decided to do 100 miles.
So let's talk about your results. You finished 10th?
I finished 10th in my age group, so 30 to 40. I finished 53 overall.
That's including the pros?
That's including the pros. So they bundle me in with Pete Stettin and all the other guys, which is not fair, but I'll take it. I saw a lot of flats, and I think the tires were key to that aspect. I could have a completely different day if I flatted, you know.
Yeah.
And or if I didn't have enough traction. So that really helped. Nick, anything else you want to say about Manzanita in general, or the Whippet, or how can people get in touch with you if they want to buy a Manzanita Whippet?
So I've been making the Manzanitas, the Whippets in batches, and through Instagram and on my website, I make announcements when the next batch is ready for order. I'll probably do one this fall, and usually I do a batch of about 8 to 10 frames. So Jets, stay tuned. Manzanita Cycles on Instagram or manzanitacycles.com on our website, and you can get the information about the Whippet there. Otherwise, you can just give me an email, give me a phone call, text me, Instagram, DM me, all the ways. I'm happy just to chat with you about the Whippet, answer any questions that you have. And if you're in town, love to go for a ride with you too.
Thank you for having me, Nick. I also finally sat down with the guy who's been telling me since day one, wider tires are faster. John has been on this train for years, and like most trends, he started with small builders, the folks designing bikes for the terrain they ride. Okay, so today we're going to talk about tires, and we're going to talk to someone that's been telling me about mountain bike tires for a while. He needs no introduction. He's been pushing for bigger tires on gravel bikes for a while. You all know him online, and here he is, Dylan Johnson, everybody. Actually, no. This is John Watson. He's my boss, and
I'm not your boss, dude.
I started the Race Metal series about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and back then it was all about getting faster on a gravel bike, and
Riding metal.
and riding metal, obviously, sustainability, supporting small frame builders. That's always been the goal. And back then, I thought, like everybody else, 2 years ago, that 40 millimeter semi-stick tires were really fast. And John back then offered me to ride his Ponderosa that had 2.2 tires.
2.3.
2.3. And I told him, no, that is too slow. Fast forward 2 years later, about 2 months ago, I reached out to John and I said, John, I need a gravel bike that fits 2.2s. And he literally looked at me.
All because Dylan Johnson told Miguel on his YouTube channel.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So I guess we're going to talk about a little bit of the Manzanita. It has 2.2 mountain bike tires on it. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of where this bigger tire trend started. It didn't start 2 years ago. And we're also going to talk about Lost and Found and how those tires, that setup is literally perfect for that type of terrain, and how beautiful Lost and Found is, and you should definitely do it next year. Let's start with when you told me that I should ride your Ponderosa a year and a half ago.
It's okay. I acknowledge that I don't wear Lycra. I don't do gravel races. I'm not a pro. So my layers of expertise might not align with what Miguel looks at for his kind of like inspiration for cycling, which is totally cool. It's also why I wanted to give Miguel the platform, because he doesn't ride bikes like I ride bikes, and it's great to have different opinions at the Radivist. So it's been really nice having him. But yeah, I don't know. I think the drop bar bike with big tires thing started way back in the 80s, actually. I mean, it ultimately started back in the 1800s, but the pneumatic tire, the modern tire as we know it, the biggest 700C tire at the time was about a 28, maybe a 30, depending on some European manufacturers. But it was a 28, 30 mil. Guys like Yelps Brandt and Tom Ritchie were riding those tires and crazy shit in Santa Cruz Mountains. But there was this guy named Bruce Gordon. He was a frame builder, and he learned how to build frames under Albert Eisentraut, which Eisentraut's like the godfather of frame builders in California. A lot of people came out of Eisentraut's shop. He's still alive. He lives out in wine country. But yeah, he's like an OG. Bruce Gordon built himself a mountain bike in 1985 at the Pearl Pass Tour. Gave it a try. Back then, people were just riding mountain bikes on dirt roads. There wasn't a lot of single track riding. But he still didn't want to abandon the 700C drop bar platform. So he found this tire in Finland. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce it, that he really liked the tread pattern. He thought it would make a great multi-surface, like hard pack pavement, hard pack gravel, and then like kind of like chunky double track stuff. He was like, this tread looks amazing. So he hollered at this guy, Joe Murray. Yeah, Joe Murray, to draw up a pattern and talk to Jensen Tire in China, who later became CST and Max's tires, and had this tire made, which 43 millimeter 700C gravel tire. The word gravel wasn't being used to represent this form of riding. People pretty much just called it like road riding, because that's pretty much all it is. It's a dirt road or a paved road. It's still road riding. But Bruce made these 43 millimeter tires called the Rockin' Roads. Now, the problem is none of the bikes that were available at the time fit a 43 millimeter tire. And that's where the genius lies, because Bruce is a frame builder. So Bruce made bikes that fit his Rockin' Road tires. He started with 40 and 43 millimeter and then went to 48 millimeter. So this frame is from 1988. It features a mountain bike drivetrain, clearance for a 48 millimeter tire, which was arguably the first 29er tire. This was 10 years before WTB came out with the Nanoraptor, which was a 29 by 2.1. Guys like Wes Williams and Gary Fisher brought that along, but this was a decade before that. And you have this bike that arguably rides like a 29er tire with a mountain bike drivetrain, steel fork, steel stem, lugged, looks like a road bike, drop bars that were hand flared in a bench vise to be wider. I mean, this is a gravel bike, and it was 1988.
So I think that takes me to a part of a conversation that I've been having with you lately about trends in the bike industry and how we are being told basically that gravel bikes that fits 2.2 is the newest technology.
Yeah.
And I think I want to highlight how important it is to recognize smart frame builders that do advance the technology of bike riding by just experimenting with metals and experimenting with how they want to ride. You know, they're not following trends; they are trailblazers in their own way.
Yeah.
Just tell us about how some of these people that you know, by experimenting, have influenced the advancement.
Yeah, advancements.
In bike.
Charlie Cunningham built a drop bar mountain bike in the late 70s that had a clutch derailleur, used a 1x drivetrain, and had all kinds of like modern technologies that we're only seeing today. He was hand filing his cassettes to give better shifting. The guy's a genius. And then you guys got guys like Bruce Gordon, who were doing it in the 80s with the Rockin' Roads. More recently, because I don't want to sound like, old grandpa talks about the good old days or whatever, but more recently, like let's just say 2010, you had showcases like the North American Handmade Bike Show. You walk into NABS, as it was called, and you could see any number of frame builders offering drop bar bikes with 2.1 clearance tires. And that's a 29er wheel. I'm not talking about 650B or 26 inch. So frame builders have been doing this stuff for a long time. Lining all these aisles at this showcase were all these like really cool bikes. And then walking those aisles were designers from Specialized, from Trek, from all these big companies, looking at ideas, looking at where the industry was going. And that the kind of rad has kind of blossomed out of this scene. We documented frame builders since like 2008. And so it's basically been this like steady march from, let's say 2008, 2006 of frame builders making bikes that fit bigger 29er or 700C tires, and then figuring out all the ways to get around tire clearance issues. So the tire clearance issues, obviously chainstay, chain ring, you want your Q factor and you want your chain line to all be pretty healthy. Because if you go too wide with the chain ring, then your chain line gets all screwed up, unless you go to boost spacing, which is a whole nother quagmire. But for a drop bar bike, for road spacing, the max tire you're pretty much going to fit in, unless you go to a super long chainstay, is about a 2.2, 2.3.
Yeah.
And that's what this Manzanita represents, is kind of like the maximum, clearance between tire, chainstay, and chainring that you can get in a frame like that, while still maintaining a fairly healthy chain line.
Yeah.
But I mean, this bike has a triple, and it still fits a 48 mil tire. So it's like, this new company, big corporation selling you new stuff to make you faster. First of all, fast is subjective. You might feel faster. You're not feeling speed. You're feeling comfort. You're feeling your hands still because you're not riding like a 40 mil tire with like a carbon fork, carbon frame, and carbon handlebar, and all that resonance is just transferring right to you. And that's what I was always telling you is like, you're going to be way more confident on descents, and you're going to have more traction climbing because you're going to be able to run lower pressures. And over the years, you've seen like Cannondale and all these companies do all this kind of like active and passive suspension on bikes. And that definitely helps maintain tire contact with the surface as well.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, the easiest way to do it is just fit as big of a tire as you can in the frame and run a lower pressure.
Yeah. One of the things that I got from Lost and Found from this race, not only how beautiful the race was, how good the event was, for me it was riding a bike with the person that built it. And he took me on his favorite trails around his hometown of Reno, and realizing how he built this bike for that terrain.
Oh yeah.
It was a surreal feeling, and John's been mentioning this for years in his coverage and in how he talks and how he writes about frame builders. But I finally understood because I created a little bit of a relationship with Nick. Like I think we're friends now. I hope he thinks that too. But riding bikes with your friend that also happened to build your bike was a surreal feeling. And I just want John to elaborate on that because you should try it once in your life.
Yeah. I mean, I rode bikes with Bruce Gordon back in the day, or like my Retro Tech with Curtis. Like we've done bike tours in Japan, kind of ridden Downieville Classic on hardtails and stuff like that. I think that's the thing I like about it. Granted, I'm in like a special position where a lot of these people are friends of mine just because I've been doing this for almost 20 years. But I thought it was really cool to have Miguel go out and visit with Nick and see what the terrain around Reno is like. I mean, lots of builders like Todd from Black Cat that built my Rigid 29er. He likes his bikes to be a specific way because of his like home trails in Nicene Marks are like super steep with like a lot of really twisty, turny switchbacks. So he likes a shorter reach so he can kind of drop behind the seat a little bit more. Everyone's got their own kind of particularities. Like Kyle has a 44 bikes hardtail now from Christopher Henry. That's like more East Coast tech riding, which is more like kind of slow, like, you know, you do get descents, but they're not as long as what we have here. So first ride, Kyle went on that bike. He's like, this is a East Coast bike. And so I think that's the cool thing. And that's also why I think everyone should support their local builders. Like if you live in California and you live in the La Sierra, like Cameron Falconer's right there, Nick's over in Reno. Like if you live in Oregon, you know, Bantam's up there, Washington, you got Rodriguez, you got all these builders all over the place because they know what you want. Like if you go to a builder in SoCal and ask for fenders, they're gonna be like, like I can do fenders, but like that's why you would go to, you know, Seattle or get a builder in Seattle that knows fenders. And
let me say it again. Lost and Found was so fun. That kind of remote, chunky, high country gravel, that's the good stuff. And if you get a chance next year, you should go. And with tires being such a hot topic right now, let's give credit where it's due. The small frame builders. They're the ones pushing geometry, tire clearance, and innovation from the ground up. Almost every meaningful trend starts in a garage. As Nick said, big tires on gravel bikes are nothing new. Bikepackers on the Tour Divide have known for decades that comfort is key to speed, and big tires provide that comfort. And after this race, I'm all in on big tires. So, if you want to race metal on 2.2s and see what the hype is all about, reach out to Nick and Manzanita. He only opens his queue a couple times a year, so don't wait. Just thank you everybody for watching, and please
like and subscribe.
We'll have everything in the description about where you can get a Manzanita Whippet, if you want to go to Lost and Found next year, how can you support those trails.
Yeah, and give a shout out to your local frame builder. Like, we want to know more about builders that live in other parts of the country.
Yeah, let us know who's your local frame builder. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys in the next one.